23rd day of the 9th month, which was my 3rd week of school. I begin to ramble to Mr. Crenshaw. He tells me to call him Mr. K, which I don't like to do, because that reminds me of the cereal, and there's nothing special about this guy. Oh yeah, he's my therapist, by the way, yet he makes a better statue. I need to talk to him because he's the best therapist for kids like me. Much, unless you know my story. For those who don't know, let me introduce myself. I'm John Middleton. I'm a 9th grader at my high school. I like math and I like the language I speak. I am constantly looking for new ways to broaden my knowledge, or both topics. However, if you are like everyone else, you'll most likely look right past all of that and focus on how I've been diagnosed with autism for most of my life. I can assure you I am more than that. It was the last period of the day. Continued to Mr. K. It was one of those dark, musty rooms that mimic that of a 2-star resort sauna. I sit in the back to the left, hidden behind 2 bookshelves. Mr. K still sits there, giving me a blank look, like he's heard the story a million times. Out of an instance of frustration by his transfixed state, I utter, "I got called on." My exclamation made little to no sense, but he seemed to be interested now. I build on my last statement. It was the hardest question of the day. No one could get it. 3 kids were called before I was, and the rest had puzzled faces. I didn't have my hand up when the teacher said John, so I assumed it was someone else. I finished the problem early, so I started to draw. In the midst of my drawing, I noticed 17 makeup-caked, bearded faces staring up at me. Their faces represented their age, since I am taking honors calculus. Just regurgitating the story to Mr. K brought back my anxiety. I have a fear of speaking in a public setting, and this was my first time being called on all year. I had yet to experience the fear of presenting in high school. The whole class stopped. Everyone was still staring at me. It was unclear to me how long they had been waiting for my response. I began to sweat as the sound of chuckles rang through the room. I didn't know what to do, so I covered my ears and put my head down on my desk. No matter how hard I pushed, the laughter got louder. I'm experiencing a panic attack much like the one I had in class in my therapy chair. I didn't know what to do, so I just shouted the answer. All went silent for a second, so I thought my idea worked, only to get bombarded by a wave of laughter greater than the first. This time they used words that separated me from them, and this time not by age. As I continue the story, Mr. Statue over here decides to take some notes about the whole situation. The havoc was hushed by the sound of a stern voice. He corrected the students. The adult figure in the room took charge, reprimanding the students and praising me. Yes, praising me. He announced that I was correct. The problem that no one could solve, I solved. He credited me for my intelligence and chastised my pupils. The last words I remember from his mouth were that everyone knew who they wanted to work with for their next project. Within those brief 30 seconds, I made a new name for myself. I proved my abilities. Everyone has a specialty. Just because they might not be the same as you, anyone can be better than you. For others out there who understand me, take pride in your strong suits and show that everyone should be treated equally. Because you never know who could be the strength to your weaknesses.